back. I'm Violet Evergreen, and I am your instructor for Animal Spirit Guides, episode 3. The first video covered a lot of the basics as far as laying the groundwork, the foundation for the ideas behind Animal Spirit Guides. Now I actually wanted to go back to where I left off in the last video, which is ego-based thinking. And I'm just going to touch on it, and it's very much related to what we're now going to start talking about. It's really important now in this portion to start thinking about your animal guides. And sometimes we ask the question, you know, is one animal better than the other? And that is part of ego-based thinking. If you think that all animals are equal in importance and at the same level, you start removing those barriers between you and your animal guide. You know, the average person might think, you know, a deer might be more important or better than perhaps a squirrel as their animal guide, because we think of deer as powerful animals, mystical, magical, because they live in the forests, in the woods. We don't have that everyday connectedness with them, versus squirrel, where majority of us have seen squirrels, especially like myself. I live in New York, we see tons of squirrels. So the magic of it is sort of taken away because of the daily connectedness, but that shouldn't be the case. We should be thinking of animals all at the same level, especially when it comes to animal guides, because they all lend their gifts and their power to help you with a challenge or a lesson. And an example would be the deer. If she has a fawn and she's hurt, the herd will automatically have a new lead. In this example, the deer is the lead. So a new lead will take the role and take the herd away from the danger and leave the fawn behind. Now, during the winter, the fawn has 0 chances of surviving. But that doesn't make a difference to deers because they're thinking of the entire herd versus the one fawn. With squirrels, it's the opposite. So with a squirrel, if a squirrel mom dies, another squirrel, generally a related squirrel, maybe a sister or a daughter from a previous litter, will take on the role of mother to those babies left behind. Another example of a similar situation during the winter, squirrels hibernate, right? So they prepare all summer long, gathering food, burying in these caches, leaving them everywhere for them to find later on during the winter and not starve. Although sometimes squirrels can forget where their caches are, or other animals could steal them. When you juxtapose that against the deer, so the deers generally slow their metabolism down during the winter, so they fast. They feed all spring and summer, fatten themselves up, and then when the winter comes, they just start fasting, which slows their metabolism down, slows their heart rate down. So they try to limit their energy. But the exception here is the stag. The stag of the herd, any food that is found during the winter is automatically given to the stag. No one else will eat it, the stag will eat it. But what happens with the stag is now his metabolism goes back to normal, and he most likely will starve and not make it through the winter because food is scarce. So you have the squirrel who plans for the winter, ensures that they have food, they hibernate and eat flashes the times that they wake up. The deer slow down their metabolism, give their leader whatever food is available during the winter, but this actually harms their leader because it increases their metabolism, and then there's not enough food to keep them alive. With that said, a squirrel could help with some lessons, and that could be with community, empathy, memory, planning for the future, watchfulness, cunning, and solitude. And that's just some of them. And that doesn't mean that it applies to everyone. I'm saying that those are some of the things that they could help with if they show up in your life. And a deer can also help with moving past grief, generosity, thinking of the needs of the many versus the one. So global thinking. We'll talk a little bit more in this video about how we can determine those things for ourselves. And it really is about sitting and researching what an animal does in their life to survive and meet challenges. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit more. But I just wanted to talk about the ego-based thinking here. If you had a choice, would you choose the deer or the squirrel? Both of them have their benefits. Whatever animal comes into your life, it's for a reason. It's for something very specific going on in your life. So let's get away from ego-based thinking and break down those barriers between you and your animal guide. I want to do a quick refresh on the types of animal guides before I head into new material. So 1, your birth animal. Your birth animal spirit guide is the guide that you are born with, you come into this lifetime with, and has been with you throughout multiple lifetimes. You have a strong bond with this animal spirit guide, and they are your fierce, fierce, fierce protector. They will guard you, protect you, and help you with many lessons throughout your life. Then you have your transient animals. So transient animal spirit guides are, as the word implies, not permanent, not from the onset of your birth. So they will come in based on events, situations in your life, specific lessons that those situations and events are taking place in this lifetime. And you arranged for these lessons before you got into this body on this plane. And those animals will come in at different points and stay for variations of time. It could be a week, month, a year, many years, for the rest of your life. And then we have familiars, which are your animal spirit guides that have incarnated into an animal that is in your life, generally a pet. So those animals also are your protectors in the physical plane and in the other planes. So they will protect you from any harm that's sent your way, like psychic attacks, any sort of low vibrational energy that might be coming to you and looking for your energy to attach itself to. Your animal spirit guide familiar will step in and take it on upon themselves. And then there's a fourth that actually I didn't mention in the last video, which I think is important to talk about, and that is your shadow animal spirit guide. And they're not a true spirit guide in the sense of the other spirit guides. They're a representation of your fears. So while they're in your life, you have to work on that fear, and they will help you work on that fear. And once you've overcome that fear, that animal will become your animal spirit guide for the challenges and lessons that come along with that type of animal. So the next part is animal spirit guide basics. And so the first thing would be every animal spirit has a powerful gift to share with you. Every animal has its own talents and behaviors. A study of those talents and behaviors will help reveal what magic, power, and gifts it can help you develop in your own life to help you with your lessons. Lifelong animals generally are wild animals, but there are exceptions. Some people do have domesticated animals, like I said in the previous video, of dogs and cats, usually. But usually there is also their wild cousin that might be your animal spirit guide as well. So if you have a dog as your animal spirit guide, most likely you also have a wolf, perhaps, hyena, a dingo, a fox, any canine pretty much could be your animal spirit guide as well. So that's something that you want to keep in mind if you happen to have a domestic animal as one of your guides. Something that's really, really important is that the animal chooses you. You do not choose it. You can't choose an animal spirit guide because you already have that agreement with them set before you got here. So the choice has been made. The only changes that come up could possibly introduce a transient animal, but again, you're not choosing it. They appear in your life because you need them, and they know you need them. Of course, not everything goes to plan that we planned before we got here. So there will be those moments where we have those transient animals that come in to help us. All animals choose us. We do not choose them. So you may try to choose your animal, but that's, again, your ego getting in the way, because most likely you'll choose a glamorous animal, which is what most people tend to do. So it's better to excel in mouse gifts versus lion gifts when that mouse has come to you for a very, very specific reason. And you can fight it all you want. It's what you're supposed to work with. And something I already covered in the other video too is the importance of developing that relationship between you and your animal guide. You need to communicate with them. That means talking to them. You need to form a relationship with them. It's incredibly important because that builds trust between the two of you. It means not only that they trust you, but you trust them. And that's incredibly important, that you trust them, because this will allow you to really utilize their gifts in your life and in your development. Honoring your animal. Honoring your animal spirit guide means that you need to possibly like start a little altar for them, have some pictures, draw pictures of them, maybe have a little figurine of them, something for their energy to embody in the physical. It shows that you care, it shows that you want to connect, it shows that you want to communicate. And the more you do this, the more they show up. It also is a reminder of its power in your life. Other ways to honor your animal guides are to possibly donate either money or your time, possibly at a sanctuary, for example. There are a lot of sanctuaries throughout the world that help a lot of wild animals for whatever reasons they end up there. There is a wolf sanctuary, for example, in Salem, New York, and I try to donate, minimally at least once a year to them. I also would walk dogs, which are relatives of wolves. So that was another way for me to connect and honor them. So those are some examples of what you can do. It doesn't take money. It could just be literally your time. So volunteer to care for them. Also just sharing with others information about them and sharing ways to respect and honor them. Teaching people that the animal is valuable in the ecosystem. So all those things can help honor your animal guide. So once you learn to work with your animal spirit guide, that means it opens up the door to many more animal spirit guides. You don't necessarily have just one. You may have 3, you may have a dozen. The point is that it's limitless, and the more that relationship is built, the more animals are apt to come through. Each of them can add something to your life. Each of them add a new power to your life, a new gift. And when you are in need of them, because you have that relationship already, now you can call them. You can call them because you have a relationship with them. Just like you would call on anybody that you trust to help you with a problem, you can call on your animal spirit guide. The key to opening the door to others is establishing the relationship with the one. It is crucial. More than one person can have the same animal guide. You're not exclusively the person with the wolf animal guide. There are limitless amount of animal spirit guides, and partners sometimes can and tend to have the same animal spirit guides. Do they work exactly the same with each of them? Not necessarily, but chances are there are similar lessons that both of them are learning, so it is possible that there are shared gifts or power given to the individual, and there are also differences because not everyone is exactly the same, not even partners. No matter how much you share your life, there are definite differences in the lessons that we established that we needed to learn on this earth. So chances are that although you share the same type of animal spirit guide, there will be some differences. The role the guides play is specific to the individual. Animal guides actually can also be shared by groups of people. So, for example, a meditation group, any sort of group that's working energetically, a coven, can share a very specific animal spirit guide because that animal spirit guide is working with the group for a very specific lesson. That group is together for a reason. So that animal spirit guide is going to come to the group. And I actually had a similar experience when I was part of a group once when I learned Reiki and became attuned to it. The group of people I was working with, we all shared the jaguar and the panther, which in itself they're the same animal, but the two sides of the animal. And it turns out that one of the Reiki masters, who was the leader of the group, her animal spirit guides were the jaguar and the panther. So a lot of us actually were seeing images of them just randomly or in our meditations. Because I'm talking about the jaguar right now, I do want to bring up keystone animals. So a jaguar is a keystone animal. So what does that mean? A keystone animal is an animal that affects its environment disproportionately to their numbers. So without the jaguar, their ecosystem could collapse because they keep their prey in check. And those prey then keep the other animals in check, and then they keep the insect kingdom in check. They keep the plant kingdom in check. So it is a true domino effect. You remove that keystone species and the ecosystem collapses. So how does that apply with an animal spirit guide? Well, when you have someone in a group that has a keystone animal, they are key to the survival of that group in the sense that they, whatever their decisions, whatever they teach, they will keep that group together or that group will collapse. They are supposed to help the development of the group, the spiritual development of that group. So if that person with a keystone animal spirit guide fails in their own lessons, they in fact will affect their group. Thank you so much for tuning in and learning about animal spirit guides. I hope this helps you in your spiritual journey, in your witch journey. And we have more coming up as well, so please stay tuned for the next episode. The next episode, we will have our journey meditation. We will also be having a shape-shifting exercise, and these two will help you not only get to know who your guide is, but also how to work with your guide directly. Now that you have a full foundation of what an animal spirit guide is and how to interpret their signs, you're ready to go on to the final step. So thank you again for joining me. And a special thank you to our Patreon members. We can't do this without you, and we really appreciate you. I'm Violet Evergreen, and you can find me on Instagram at Violet the Green Witch. You can also check out my shop at Fox and Bear Healing. And also exciting news, I'm starting a podcast with a dear friend. It's a completely witchy podcast, all witch related topics, and I'm really excited about that. And more to come on that. But we are very excited to share this with everyone.